How's it going, folks? It's been a little bit, but welcome back to their top 5 video here on YouTube for Magic the Gathering. So, when a new set comes out, a question I always get asked by people that are trying to conserve their budget and spend their resources wisely on Arena is, Jeff, what are the safe crafts in this set? What cards can I spend my wild cards on with confidence to know that I'm going to get mileage out of these acquisitions? And I'm always a little cautious the first week or so to give too strong of opinions. So I don't want to I'd rather give no advice than bad advice. But Midnight Hunt has been out for over a week now. I've played over 20 different decks that you can find in the standard playlist on this channel if you want to see a bunch of these different cards in action. And I feel like I can say with confidence today, these 5 rares that I'm going to highlight are cards that if you craft them now, they will see play in lots of various standard legal decks between now and when they rotate 2 years from now. They're a good use of your resources in my opinion. That being said, before I dive into these, I would like to just mention that I am not going to list any of the rare lands. There's 5 rare dual lands in this set, and those are 1 through 5. If you can't play Magic without good mana. All of these dual lands are super playable. I think they're even historic playable in 2-color decks. I've been playing 4 of them and liking it. So first things first, craft your mana base, be able to cast your spells consistently. That being said, let's take a look at my top 5 non-land rares in Innistrad the Midnight Hunt that I think you can craft with confidence. So coming in at number 5, we have Briar Bridge Tracker. This is a card that's just a good aggressive card as a 4/3 with Vigilance for 3. It's also excellent with in mid-range decks as well, because the clue that it comes with lets you draw a card. Azeka's Chariot's going to be a format staple for as long as it's legal, and that makes plenty of tokens, so you can crack the clue with this and still have it be a 4/3 because it just cares about any tokens in general. You can also copy your clue with Chariot, so I expect this card to be a mainstay, and honestly, aggro, mid-range, and even control decks, this could be a fine threat just because it does replace itself, and it doesn't mind trading out with things on the opponent's side of the board, being a pseudo removal spell that cantrips effectively. Speaking of control decks, coming in at number 4 on the top rares in the set, I have Memory Deluge. And I think this card is just one that we're going to see in every blue deck through rotation. You know, we've seen a lot of variations of this 4 mana instant speed, scry 2, draw 2, and this is honestly even more powerful than that, right? Because you get to look at 4 and take 2, so you don't have to take 2 at random. And the flashback on this spell is just so powerful. Casting the front half and the back half lets you see so many cards and generate so much card advantage, and that's even before you consider the fact when you pair it with other things like, say, Renin 7 that dump cards into your graveyard, you can draw this while milling cards off the top of your deck, which makes it super powerful. Speaking of putting cards into graveyards, coming in at number 3 on my top 5 rares in Midnight Hunt is a card that gives you some main deckable graveyard hate. So Graveyard Trespasser here, a 3/3 with ward, discard a card for 3. And that ward mechanic, for those not familiar, means if your opponent wants to target this with a spell or an ability, they have to discard a card to do so. And this gives this card just fantastic built-in protection against spot removal, which means if your opponent wants to take it off the board, they generally speaking have to 2-for-1 themselves to do it, making it just a fantastic mid-range threat. And that's even before you get to the fact that it exiles stuff from graveyards when it comes into play and buffers your life total if you're taking creatures. It starts the Daybound, Nightbound series, so if it becomes night, it becomes a little bit larger, retains that ward ability, can exile 2 things instead of 1, effectively allowing it to attack for 6 against creature decks, which allows you to both buffer your life total and race them very efficiently. Coming in at number 2 on my top rares in Midnight Hunt. And I will say, my number 1 and my number 2 are close. I think I could have switched either of these last 2 and been pretty happy with where I put them. But coming in at number 2, I've got the Malevolent Hermit here. So this is a 2/1 for 2 that says sacrifice it, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 3. And then it has the Disturb mechanic, which basically allows you to flash back this creature from your graveyard as its backside. And the backside is just a 2/2 flyer that says non-creature spells you control can't be countered. So this card is absurd against control decks. You know, the front half is a counter spell that can stop their card advantage, it can stop their sweeper, it can stop, their planeswalker. And then the backside, make sure that your powerful planeswalkers and stuff like that don't get countered. Even if your deck doesn't have a lot of non-creature spells, just the fact that this is a counter spell on the front half that applies pressure, that then flips into another threat on the back half after the deal with the front half, makes it incredibly good. I expect this card to be playable in Historic. It's a card that is disruptive against combo while also providing pressure at the same time. So I think this is one that I expect to be a blue staple in Standard, as well as other non-rotating formats that are going to be on Arena as well. Finally, coming in at number 1 on my top 5 rares from Innistrad the Midnight Hunt, we have the Reckless Stormseeker. So just probably the best red aggressive card in the set. So 2/3 for 3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you get to give a creature 1/0 and haste until end of turn. So not only does this basically a 3/3 with haste for itself, but every other creature you play for the rest of the game then has haste while this is out. And this has the day-bound, night-bound mechanic, and the backside's even more powerful. If it's already night when you play this card, it comes in as a 5/4 trample haste that then gives everything else extra attack and trample and haste to push lots of damage. Azika's Chariot is another card this card's just absurd with. You know, if you play this on 3 and it survives, your Chariot comes down on 4, you crew the Chariot, you get to attack with it the turn it came down. Just really powerful aggressive enabler. Honestly, pretty decent mid-range card too. Allows you to beat down against the control decks, which is nice. Any rate, let me know in the comment section down below what you think of my top 5 rares here in Innistrad the Midnight Hunt. Do you think there's one I should have considered that I didn't list? What cards have been working well for you? What strategies have you been enjoying since the set released a week ago? Let me know in the comment section down below. And I'll be back tomorrow with another direct to YouTube piece where I'll be highlighting the top 5 mythic rares, I think, from Innistrad the Midnight Hunt. Thanks for watching, and everybody stay safe out there.